Darren Cahill has also joined us on the sofa as well. Darren, great to see you. We had you on the set the other day talking about how great this event is and how great Roger Federer has been not only this year but during this tournament. And are you expecting more great things from him again this evening?
Yeah, it's just kind of the way it's been for him. He's certainly a better player this year than he was last year, and it's a credit to him to be able to do that at 33 years of age, and there's no reason why he won't continue to play well. He's making the game look easy. Physically, he's in great health, and that's been a big reason for the turnaround this year. He's getting on the court. He's competed more than anyone so far this year as well, and absolutely, and he knows Stan extremely well. I think the head's 14-2. The two times he's lost to Stan were both in Monte Carlo on clay where the ball sits up a little bit, but this court is perfect for Roger. Stays nice and low. He can use his slice backhand effectively. I think against Stan you'll see him use a little bit of serve and volley as well. Stan likes to block that first serve return back, likes to drift back and then have a crack at the second serve. So Roger will be able to get into net and try to strangle Stan's time a little bit so he can't play his game, and I think it'll be a good match. Both players have nothing to lose. That's the great thing. And, you know, the player that does lose this match gets to go to France and get ready for a big Davis Cup match so they can both go out there and try to execute their games.
Yeah, indeed. And in that 14-2, by the way, I think it's 10-0 to Roger in terms of indoor hard, which is where they are. So for Stan, it's a tough statistic, Paul. I don't know how much that counts for right now, but I think maybe just the way we're seeing Roger looking so effortless out there, it probably counts for quite a bit.
I'm sure it does count for a lot, but I think the one big thing that Stan's got in his favour was that win over Roger in Monte Carlo this year. The Australian Open win was obviously the biggest win of his career, but you talk to Stan about that win in Monte Carlo. That was big for him because it was a winner against Federer. The first time he beat Stan in Monte Carlo, I think it was 5 years previously, that was just 3 or 4 days after Roger got married, actually, and I remember that match, and Roger, clearly his mind wasn't necessarily on his tennis so much, but that the Monte Carlo final, that was Roger's first chance to win that tournament, and for Stan to win that, even though it was on clay, different surface to here, that will give him some encouragement, I think.
And the other thing that I thought was also very encouraging to hear, despite what Roger was saying ahead of the Andy Murray match relating to the pace of the court, he was saying very difficult to come into the net on this court in particular. I mean, these days generally, but on this court in particular, probably a lot of baseline play. Well, he just showed completely the opposite in that match against Andy. But from the fans' point of view, we just love to see that change in strategy and players coming into that. So it's great news all round.
Yeah, some spectacular play. It's been missing from the game a little bit, the serve and volley. I think we might see a bit tonight, as Darren rightly pointed out, Stan often right back on that second serve, so that'll give him, especially Roger, a chance to serve and volley there. But I want to just pick up something with Darren, because I mean, he's seen a lot of tennis right at the top level and seen Roger for a long time. You said a minute ago he's improved from last year to this year. Improved this year to last year. Do you think he's maybe the best tennis player he's ever been?
Yeah, that's a good question. I spoke to him after his match the other night, talking about his backhand and talking about the timing that he has on his backhand today. And I think there are three things. Firstly, he's in great shape. The racket change has made a big difference. He now has 8 extra square inches on that racket. He went from a 90 to a 98 square inches. So now he's actually timing the backhand a lot better, especially when he's moving away and that ball's just slightly outside his pocket. That was a weakness. And also a decent, big first serve to him, a 125, 130 mile an hour first serve. Had Roger mishitting a lot of those returns. I'm not sure I've seen him mishit too many returns so far in this tournament.
The first set against Raonic, every serve he got a racket on, he made the return.
So you might have a case for the fact he's actually playing the best tennis of his career right now, no question.
And on top of that, I think tactically, it seems so clear what he's doing. And at times we argued, going back 7-8 years when he was dominating everything, that he was just so good he didn't necessarily need to think about his tactics an awful lot, whereas now it seems like he's crystal clear with what he wants to do.
Well, Stefan's helped him. I think he's encouraged him to come into the net a lot more. He's cleaned up his volleys. And I think at 33 years of age, you can't play like you're 23. You can't be running like a jackrabbit to 7 or 8 corners back and forth. You have to be more decisive in the way you're going to win points and protect your body, because your body is your greatest asset. So he knows now that he's got to try to shorten points, keep them nice and quick, be unpredictable for his opponents, and that's the way he's playing. So he doesn't have, when he used to go onto the court, he'd have 17 different options on how to win a tennis match. Now maybe he has 12, not quite as many, but now he's a lot more decisive about how he wants to play, and you can certainly see that.
Paul, where would you put that win against Andy Murray the other night in terms of Roger's successes? Because the quality, it was almost exhibition tennis on one side of the net, wasn't it?
Well, I think Stefan said it was Roger's best tennis this year, and it was sensational. There was a point he hit I think it was in the third game, a forehand that he hit down the line. It was just a sensational shot. It reminded me so much of what Roger was like 7 or 8 years ago. Andy didn't play as well as he could do. We all know that, but in a way, what could he do? One of the things Andy said afterwards was, Roger was just hitting the ball so well, he was dictating everything, and I think that's the big challenge for Stan tonight. Can he stop Roger dictating the match? The way Roger plays, the way he attacks so much, really hard to do.
Well, what does Stan do then? What are the opening moves that Stan needs to put into place if he's really to make an early mark on this match?
Well, first serve is crucial for Stan. I think that whilst everyone thinks about Stan as being huge from the back of the court, a lot of his game and his confidence revolves around that first serve. Doesn't have to be a high percentage of first serves in. He can be between 55 and 60, but he has to be hitting his spots and winning his fair share of free points off that first serve. If all the pressure then goes on to his second serve, then it's like a domino effect and he starts going for way too much from the back of the court to try to make up for it. If he can get that 1.5, 2 points on serve, 3 points where he doesn't have to fight for them, then he can loosen up, then start to be a little more creative from the back of the court. If he doesn't serve well, he won't win.
It's that balance again, and I think we've seen it in a few matches. Cilic trying to play that aggressive sort of US Open tennis, Raonic trying to play, and that's what Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic earlier did so well, put that pressure on and make the opponents overplay. So key for Stan to find that balance early on. And as Darren said, I think the first serve is the thing that can take the pressure off you most and just allow you a bit of freedom to play.
What a year for Stan though. Wins the Australian Open, backs up incredible year he had last year, made it through to the semi-finals here. So he wins his first ever major. He won his first ever Masters 1000 event in Monte Carlo. He's back in the semi-finals here, and now he has a chance to win a Davis Cup for Switzerland. What a dream year for him. It's a dream year for anybody. What a dream year for Stan Wawrinka.
Stan started the year on a 14-match winning streak because he won in Chennai before the Australian Open, won Australia, a Davis Cup match, and then I think third or fourth round in Indian Wells. It's been pretty phenomenal. And we said it went a bit lean, but still a quarterfinals at Wimbledon and US Open, so it's not like it fell away completely.
Yeah. Bloody Swiss, we've got to get rid of them, don't we?
I think it's not as though this has been a one-off year for him, because you remember end of last season, he had a great end of last season. Right. He did really well at the US Open, got to the semis from what I remember, and he's built on that. It's not just a one-off this year.
And I wonder if, having had a little dip towards this sort of the final quarter of the year, getting here again and maybe just pushing forward, maybe he's on that way up again, perfectly in time to defend his Australian Open title.
Well, one of the things you look at with Stan's year, it's been very up and down.
Yeah.
Fantastic start to the year. Well, winning a tournament the first week, winning the Australian Open. Then he had some dips. Then he had that fantastic win in Monte Carlo. So, he can hit the heights. It's
the other thing that I think Arvin touched on, which is quite unusual about this matchup between the two of them. You've got Severin Luthi there in the back of shot. Is, as Arvin was saying, they're going to be a team. Next Wednesday they'll be travelling out to Lille in France to face the French Friday, Saturday and Sunday in the Davis Cup final. So I don't know if it's been occupying their thoughts, either of them or any of the Swiss, during their time here, but it's a really odd complexion.
The Davis Cup?
Yeah, having this followed immediately by these guys in action.
Roger, a couple of weeks ago, in between indoor tournaments, went off and practiced on clay for 5 days. Absolutely, this is occupying their thoughts. And you bring up Seve. He's been an unbelievable rock of support for all the Swiss guys and also for Stan Wawrinka. Even though he's Federer's coach, he turns up to every one of Wawrinka's matches. And I know he'll be sitting in the Federer box tonight, but Stan knows that Seve's there for him. He's been wonderful the last 8 or 9 years. He's the guy that never really has gotten enough credit for what he's been able to achieve with Roger Federer. So the fact that Stefan Edberg has come in certainly helped that team. I give a lot of credit also to Seve.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've talked a little bit about how the great players are able to compartmentalize things. For example, Djokovic has had the kid and still able to focus. Yeah. Roger's gone through all that as well. In your experience, is that what the great players you've been with, Andre and Leighton, maybe talk a little bit about how they're able to just put certain sections of their life apart and focus on the tennis?
Yeah, I think everybody's a little bit different, but you can even say that about problem solving in a tennis match as well. If one part of your game is not working, the lesser players seem to let it flood through to the rest of the game. So a guy like Stan, we talk about the fact that he's had a few mental letdowns so far this year, goes back a little bit to the first serve. If he's not making the first serve, then he lets that disappointment filter through his entire game. The great players don't do it. And the great example of that is when they lose a tight set, might be a second set, might be the first set, immediately in the first game of the next set, they are back on it. Straight away. More than likely they played the best game of the match right then to re-establish themselves. And I think that's where a lot of juniors can really learn from the great players. Is you're exactly right. They put things in compartments, they don't let it filter through to the rest of their game, and they get back on the job straight away.
I think we saw exactly that this afternoon, didn't we, with Djokovic and Nishikori. Whatever the outcome of the match tonight, it's going to be a terrific experience for the fans.